its own Facebook page, the same tool young activists used to organize the revolution.
We have set up this page on the orders of the head of the Supreme Council of the Armed Forces, because the Council believes that fruitful cooperation with Egypt's honourable sons in the coming period will lead to stability and security in our beloved Egypt.
In under 48 hours, the page attracted more than 250,000 supporters, with thousands of comments on the statements posted by the council, ranging from praise for the army to echoing protesters' demands about the way forward. The military has been exerting efforts to appear open through televised communiques, but some experts have described this as old-fashioned 1960s-era communication style.
What Facebook does offer is the creation of a space where people can discuss these things. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be a general, obviously, answering everyone's questions on Facebook. And I think for the army, it allows them to get a taste of what public opinion is concerned about, but also kind of channel the discussion. We need to get people to get back to work. We can't threaten the economy anymore. We will address your grievances, but be patient.
One of the more popular statements on the site announces the army will not be punishing an officer who was shown on television joining the uprising. Caught in the uncomfortable position of having to run the country, the new rulers are already making decisions that are proving unpopular, including calling for an end to strikes and street protests. Their latest PR move, some say, perhaps an attempt to retain the support they'd had for not cracking down on the anti-Mubarak movement. AlJazeera, Cairo.
Egyptian officials say the passage of 2 Iranian naval ships through the Suez Canal has been delayed by 48 hours. Iranian state television had said the warships had already sailed north through the Suez Canal on their way to Syria, but Egypt disputes that, and their whereabouts is causing alarm in Israel. Israel is describing the move as a provocation. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Iran is trying to broaden its regional influence. African Union peacekeepers have destroyed a mile-long trench system used by Somali rebels during a weekend of heavy fighting in the capital. The latest flare-up of violence in Mogadishu killed at least 9 civilians over the last 2 days. The Amazon force, 2 of its troops have also been killed, and at least 6 foreign fighters. Yoweri Museveni has been re-elected as president of Uganda. The Electoral Commission says he won with 68% of the vote on Friday's presidential election. His main rival, Kizza Besigye, has rejected the result. He won just 26%. Well, Mohamed Ado is in the Ugandan capital, Kampala, with the latest.
President Museveni has given himself another 5 years at the helm of Uganda's leadership. That will take his rule of this country to 30 good years. His supporters are happy, but not the opposition. The opposition are claiming that the vote was rigged. They are saying there have been instances where the agents and officials across the country were intimidated by police, and they're also saying ballot boxes were stuffed for President Yoweri Museveni's party. However, the National Resistance Movement of President Museveni is saying that is not true, and the vote was free and fair. The election observers, some of them international, are saying a different story, however, and the Commonwealth Observation Group has said that there has been a massive commercialization of politics in Uganda, referring to blame of some people involving themselves in voter bribery.
A survey by South Africa's Medical Research Council has found that 1 in 4 men admit to having committed rape. The problem is partly blamed on a culture that seems to accept sexual violence. But as Jonah Hull reports, the old apartheid system also has a lot to answer for.
He was beating her, probably raping her as well.
Even now I'm still shaking, because since I was born I never heard kind of sound which was produced by that girl.
South Africa is sometimes dubbed the rape capital of the world. Statistically, a woman is more likely to be raped here than learn to read. Dumisani Rebombo was 15 when he and 2 others gang raped a female pupil at school. A shy boy at the time, Dumisani says he gave in to relentless peer pressure.
These guys have a request, and they're thinking you should prove yourself to be a boy just like us. About this girl who who thinks she's clever than any other girl in this village because she wouldn't want to date any of them. So, as these boys of the neighborhood, we decided to teach her a lesson. And the lesson is that she would be raped by some of us.
20 years later, Dumisani met his victim and apologized. All she did was cry, he says. Today, he's a gender relations counsellor, running educational workshops, trying to bridge South Africa's gaping sexual divide.
Men are not all monsters, actually. And it's wrong to even go around with the message that way. In fact, in South Africa, we're told that out of 6, only 1 is bad. But the 5 are silent. So if we try and get the 5 to speak up, the better.
Why is rape so rife? Well, causal factors include a history of violence and societal decay thanks to 50 years of apartheid. But there's also poverty, alcohol abuse and inadequate policing. Police figures show a sexual offence is committed every 8 minutes in South Africa. Yet campaign groups say just 1 in 9 attacks are actually reported to the police. That's because 9 out of 10 accused men walk free.
If somebody attacks you and rape you, will not change who you are.
In a culture of such impunity, there are only small signs that Dumisani and others are making a difference.
And those men that are doing those things, that the man, for me, that is somebody that is already dead while he's alive.
People need to understand that this thing exists. People need to practice their rights, so we need to talk a lot more.
Beyond the workshop environment here in a township church, out on the streets, the silence still speaks louder than talk of human rights. Jonah Hull, AlJazeera, Johannesburg.
Let's go back to Libya and more on those clashes we're hearing about between anti-government protesters and Gaddafi loyalists in a square, Green Square in central Tripoli. Let's speak to Yazid, a witness who's been driving around Tripoli. Yazid, what have you been seeing?
Actually, I'm from Benghazi, not from Tripoli.
I'm sorry, that's our fault.
There has been a big fight in front of the main security, the armed force of Gaddafi in Benghazi. It took about 4 or 5 hours, and then the troops. Sorry, I'm a little.
Don't worry, Yazid. Take your time.
Then the troops they settled, and the other troops surrendered, and the Gaddafi's residence is now under control of the people in Benghazi.
Okay, Yazid, just tell us what you mean by Gaddafi's residence.
What?
What do you mean by Gaddafi's residence under control of the people of Benghazi?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you again.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear.
Okay, tell us, can you explain a little more about what you mean when you describe